want more and extra, and you say, well, yeah, I want more and more money, and that's okay, you can have it. And then, but the funny thing is that you're not even going to care about more and more because the worth is going up, because you've got true capitalism taking place where you've got this supply and demand that's working, that's true free market. You understand? So by nature, that's the only natural organic occurrence in supply and demand capitalism, free market, and all this. Your currency naturally goes up in worth because we as a civilized society find easier and easier methods of production. So when you get an oversupply, the price goes down, supply and demand. So that's supposedly what dictates the price, is that, oh, well, everybody wants that thing and there's just not enough, so that's why the price is high. But if you've got an excess, an abundance of everything, of course the cost goes down. So what happens is that the worth of your currency went up. The opposite of currency debasement takes place as your cost of living drops. It's all very simple and scientific and mathematical. So nobody can refute these things I'm saying, yet they do because they're scared. They're scared of the implications of saying, wow, you mean my job would be rendered irrelevant? Are you kidding me? I mean, I'm in the lending, and they bring me flowers. I gave that last loan, and and the people brought me flowers for trusting in them. You understand? And I've done that. I've actually, so I understand. I get it. I get it. I do. I get the current paradigm that we're stuck in. But remember, it's been shoved down our throats from birth. And we have to look forward to another one being shoved down our throats from birth at the very hand of God. And that is one of an understanding that this earth belongs to God. And we are all God's equally beloved children. And so he has endowed and blessed us all. This is it. So this is the logic behind it. You have to let your scriptural, biblical, spiritual beliefs override and overrule and supersede any of your political beliefs, okay? That's it, because that's where you can miss the mark, is saying, well, this and that and the next thing, but, I believe this and that and the other thing. And so your beliefs are wrong. And I'm just saying, I've got to be just as careful. So I'm warning myself, too, by saying these things. But, this is a big deal. This is about salvation and where we go from here, what kind of a world we're going to be found worthy and deserving of going to. But one way or another, you've got to admit, we've got to wean ourselves off money and any semblance thereof. We have to learn to live in a world where we've got universal prosperity. Okay, this is the only way we can have true freedom. Okay, it's got to be absolute, because freedom is an absolute term. Free is free. Okay, so free lunch, yes, as a matter of fact, there is plenty of free lunches. I mean, I forgot who I read a book by a guy. It was about free lunch in the bushes, and they've gotten plenty of free lunches. So, I mean, unless you're objecting loudly first to these people that are causing the poverty and the need for the welfare, the food stamps and the housing subsidies, okay, I mean, you're picking the low-hanging fruit by blaming the effect of these monsters that are causing our economic woes. I mean, it's madness. So yeah, I don't like that. I don't like to see people doing that. And I kind of felt like Matt Bracken was kind of doing that. And that's why I got mad at David Knight last week. And I'm sorry, David Knight, it was wrong. I was emotionally upset. A lot of stuff built up, and it just, I went off. I let the dog way too off the leash, because you're a hell of a nice guy. You're a gentleman. I have great respect and great regard for you. You're far more intellectual. You're a far more learned man than I am. And I'm sorry. Okay, all I can say is that sometimes I feel let down. I feel like, when you're that smart. I mean, because I can't reconcile it in my mind. It's like a child and a parent. When a child perceives his parents off track, he feels a duty, but the parent, says, no, I'm not going to listen. You're my kid. I'm the one that teaches you. So, I get it. So all I'm saying, I'm trying to humble myself enough to be able to say I'm sorry, and I should not let my dog off the leash like that, and I'm going to try. I mean, that's all I can do. I can ask for forgiveness, but I can't expect it. All I know is that, this universal basic income is a point of contention, and a lot of people that profess Christianity, and they profess to be against abortion, and they profess to be against crime, and they profess to be against the bankster class and dubious war and the welfare industrial complex and the debt industrial complex. But then, I feel like they should understand fundamentally that we've got to fix this thing. Okay, we've got to be done playing volleyball as things just keep spiraling downhill. Okay, there's no checks and balances. That wealth imbalance just keeps growing. Poverty just keeps increasing. It's gotten impossible, literally, to enter middle class home ownership in California now, and they're the trendsetters for the rest of the nation, and by extension, America sets the trends for the rest of the world. So, California is basically at fault for all the problems, but not Californians. They're good, decent people like all other people. But the political class, the politicos, and I use that, yes, derogatorily, as a pejorative, that these people are sellouts to the bankster class. I mean, we're in so much trouble. You see all the bases I'm touching here and trying to, make some sense for people and some logic out of these things. But you see what we're up against here. Serious, serious implications, and how important it is to keep desperate poverty intact. Do you understand they cannot extract the exorbitant rents and mortgages if people aren't literally dying out in the cold? And do you understand the chain reaction, the inevitable cause and effect of raising one aspect of your cost of living tax that you can't get away from, your housing cost, and how that by necessity is a chain reaction? I mean, everybody's trying to stay even Steven, keep up with the Joneses and pay their bills, keep their head above water. So yes, everybody has to charge more for their goods and services. If the bankster class is demanding to extract more and more and more, do you understand? So it depletes our local economies. And the ones that are well heeled and financially secure, they tighten their purse strings. So they're insecure too. So they're saying, yes, I'm on top and I want to stay there. So they can't, you understand, the cash flow is disrupted. The velocity of the currency is disrupted. And so, the hope is dashed for people. Do you understand? It's dashed. It's apparently hopeless. I'm not saying, it's a generalization to say these things. Of course, we know that a few people are going to be able to pull a rabbit out of the hat and become homeowners, and they got a good paying job and they went to school, got the career and all that, and so they pulled that rabbit out of the hat. But even making $100,000 or plus a year in San Francisco, you cannot be a homeowner. So I hope I've made my point on that. But the implications are serious to really, 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 really taking the time to understanding how dramatically, how profoundly different the world our parents want to give us is from the world that we're all forced to live in. And so we're all under an immense amount of duress. It is no small miracle that any of us can cope. It is nothing short of the literal grace of God being poured out upon humanity that any of us continue to contend with this. Okay, I firmly believe that, and that we should give God all thanks for all good things, just coping one day at a time. And and all the vices we turn to, all the escapist behavior we turn to, okay, we've all got to be curious and take it to God and say, God, how much of this stuff would disappear if I knew reality, if my paradigm was changed at your hand, at your finger, at your will? Okay, how many of those things would disappear? Those things that you know me better than I know me. How many of those things would go away? Okay, I wouldn't seek escapism. I wouldn't seek to metaphorically slash my wrists. Okay, I wouldn't seek to anesthetize myself, to beat myself up, to run away. Okay, I'm sure curious, and we have an all right to do that. So God knows that all these aren't the things that are keep us out of the kingdom of heaven. In my mind, they're not. We're all sinners. We're all imperfect. And Jesus said, look, you think about that long and hard. You ruminate on that. Be ye perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. Because people wanted to know specifics, this and that. The next thing, the 10 Commandments, they're curious, this law, that law. And he said, look, I'm going to keep it simple for you, okay? I'm going to give you 2 new commandments that are going to override all the others, the 10 Commandments, and I'm going to keep it very succinct here, okay? And so a child can understand this. Just honor God above all else, love God above all else, because that's the right thing to do, because that's the one you owe everything to, your existence. So that's logical, that's reasonable, that makes sense. So do that first. Honor God above all else. Acknowledge Him as your owner, okay? And then once you establish that relationship, then you become His child, of course, and you become His servant, you become His friend, and then you go likewise and you give that love that He has given you and shown you, that grace and mercy and goodness, that goodwill He has for you. He wants you to be happy. He wants the best for you. Just like even the crappiest parent wants for their kid, God wants that infinitely more for his kids. That makes sense. That's reasonable and logical to assume. So once you know that, then you say, that's what I have to offer to others. Those things that God has shown me that he wants for me. Love others the way Jesus loved me, the way God loves me. Okay?